All right, what's up, everybody? This is Jesse from BCC Board Repairs. Today we have it's going to be a difficult repair. This is my first time trying to stream a CPU Reball. I haven't mastered this yet, so you're probably going to see me fail, but I'm just going to try it just because the customer gave me this iPad. They had bought it off a customer for cheap, and he said, just try it. Who cares? Worst case, it's a parts device. So let's go ahead and try to do the CPU Reball. But first, let's go over kind of the troubleshooting steps. So first is the iPad itself is in recovery mode. Let's see. So iPad itself is in recovery mode. Originally, it was boot looping. The customer tried to do an update and a restore, and it gave 4013. So this is what you'll see on, like for example, 3D Tools 4013. If you do iTunes Flash, you will see. So here on the left, iTunes Flash, if you do a restore, retain user data, or quick flash, I think it's called, where it wipes the data, no matter what, it gives you 4013. If you do an easy flash, then it'll give you, I think it fails at 19%. But let's just go ahead and get started, because I know it's going to be a long video, so let's not focus too much on that. So let's go back to over here. So let's just dive right in. I see some people have joined the live stream. So hello to everyone. And you guys should wish me luck because this is going to be... Wait, how do I open this? Yeah, so as far as CPU Reballs, I still haven't mastered them yet. I mean, I've tried maybe a total of 5. I was successful on one iPad 7. So I did try an iPhone 8 Plus maybe 2 weeks ago, and I failed. So let's see what happens here. So let's see. I was considering just recording this and then posting it, but what the heck. So those of you on the live stream, let me know in the chats where you're watching from, what you did this Sunday while I disassemble this thing. Now, this issue 4013 is super common on these iPad 7s. I'm guessing it's just the board is too long, and it bends and it disconnects. And what I've read online is that CPU Reball should solve it. So let's see what happens. Now 4013 sometimes could be NAND, so it could be possible I reball a CPU and it still gets 4013, but I think I'm just gonna try to see. Well, I just want to live stream the CPU Reball attempt, so let's do that. All right, so right now I'm separating the board down here so it disconnects the battery. Yeah, positive vibes, guys. Oops, my pick didn't go through. So I'm gonna do this in frame. iPads are pretty resilient as far as heat, and there's nothing plastic nearby that can melt. So anytime I do any kind of board work on an iPad, I just do it in frame in the housing. All right, so I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna use I have this iPad mini shield. If you know, these things are, just a large shield. What I do is I slide it under, and essentially creates like a little shield, so at least the battery doesn't get any direct heat. And then let's go under the microscope. All right, so we don't need a multimeter right now. Well, let me fix this camera. All right. So, let's see. All right, so this is a CPU. It's an A10 CPU. That means it is the same one that's an iPhone 7 and 7 Plus. And on the last job where I did the CPU successfully, the original CPU got damaged because I tried it and it got stuck in DFU mode. But I had read online also that if you replace it with an iPhone 7 or 7 Plus CPU, it'll work, although you do have to essentially do an iCloud unlock at that point, which I did, and then it worked. Oh, and you lose Touch ID. So if you replace the CPU, you lose Touch ID, and you do have to write a new serial Wi-Fi and Bluetooth address. But in this case, this is a cellular model, which I don't know how to iCloud unlock. You see the antenna, SIM slot over here. So if I damage the CPU, then it's game over. But customers said they don't care. They just go ahead and try it. So what I'm going to do first is clear the underfill. I'm going to do about 280. One of the good things about iPads is there's a lot of room to work with, and PMIC is not nearby. Nothing's really nearby, so there's like a little risk of creating a secondary issue. Whereas iPhones, PMIC is on one side, on the opposite side. There's a ton of underfill everywhere. There's a bunch of coils that could come loose and give you problems. Oh wait, I'm out of frame. Haven't done a live stream in a while, so my apologies if I forget the live stream etiquette. This part's gonna be the boring part, just clearing the underfill. Also, you gotta be careful. Don't want to scratch the board and sever any traces in this area. It could cause more problems there too. Also, I really wish there was a preheater for iPad boards. It just makes cleaning underfill so much easier. So if anyone out there listening, please make one. By the way, that picture in my thumbnail is from my last CPU Reball that was successful. The Reball itself is pretty easy. I think the hard part is just getting the CPU off without damaging this actual CPU, because the surface of the CPU is super sensitive, or super fragile. Although it's a little more resilient versus like A9, like the older ones. And the RAM on top. The CPU is actually like a double stack. There's a CPU on the bottom, and then on top of it goes the RAM. And on 6S and older, for whatever reason, it's a lot harder to just do it as one job. Where like usually people, what they do is they'll separate the RAM, and then they'll do the CPU and RAM like separately. Whereas A10 and newer, I don't know, somehow you could just do it as one piece. You don't have to separate the RAM. But this is all just stuff I read in the Facebook groups, so and that's one of the things I guess I'm good at, is just reading what other people say and trying to learn off of them instead of just only reading the Facebook groups when I'm in trouble and I need I need a solution. Like I read almost any single post, like I'll read it, try to like learn something off of it. The bad thing is I don't document anything, so it's all just in my head somewhere. So whenever I come across an issue, I just like try to think back, like, did I hear about this somewhere? And then I'll like look it up, try to remember, or I'll just try things based on what I read other people saying. So I am using number 11 blade here. And these things are super sharp, so I do see a scratched surface, but hopefully it's fine. Now here's my little hook tool as well. I'm gonna just do a final kind of pass through. I find this one's good for like right now, where I'm like kind of just for the same process it goes for like you're doing baseband or NANDs, the same techniques. So I find the hook is good when I just want to do a fast pass through once all the bigger chunks are gone. I can just get the remaining little pieces this way. All right, so CPU underfill is cleared. I'm going to try, now it's time to try the CPU removal. So this is the tool. Actually, this is a new tool. Originally, when I took it off, I used this, and I came in from this corner. But I'm going to try this new tool here. It's from Union Repair. But I'm going to shave it down. So you get some files. Let me install it first. So one trick I learned is you want to file your tools. So with this thing, I'll just try to file it down so it's super thin at the edges. Let me change cameras so you guys can see. So just like try to file it down, rotate it, file it. I have two of these. Also, all right, so hopefully that makes it thinner. So if you see, tool is thinned out. If you get it just from the factory, it's like really square. Like the edges are like, like 90 degrees. Also, another thing is we need a spot to enter. So I don't remember how I did it last time. I think I came in from this corner, and luckily this cap, well, actually let's check. Pretty sure this cap is not required. What I'm gonna do is, let's go to ZXW, iPad 7. So iPad 7 is the 2019, I believe. Yeah, so this cap has a leg on ground, safe to say. I'm pretty sure this is the one I took off. It's safe to say I could take it off and then the iPad will still work. So as far as temperature, I'm gonna try I'm gonna try 120 air and 415 temperature or Celsius. So let me first kind of warm up. Oh, before I do that, see this dot right here? We have, when we place it back, you know, the A10 has to face the exact same direction. So I'm going to mark a little X over here, so I know this dot, you know, belongs there. Or I guess I should zoom out so you guys can see the full view. So let me get this cap off. Now, so I'm just going to go in fast circles. Now this is the tough part. Getting the CPU off without damaging the edges. Let me heat up the blade. If anyone has any suggestions, let me know. Alright, I think the blade's gonna be way too big. I don't know, those are all caps in that corner. Maybe I could get away with bumping a few more. Also, I should probably change the nozzle on my hot air, but I don't like, it's so hard to take it off and put it back on. I kind of just deal with it. Alright, so now I'm going to try to see if I can lift the CPU. Alright, I'm not feeling, I'm going to try 430. I'm not feeling it move. And no flux, it's underfilled, so there's nothing, you know, the flux wouldn't hit any of the solder anyway. On the right side. Oh, there's a spot over here too, I guess. No, I'm not. I'm open to ideas, so let's try that. See if I can come in here on this side. Now, if I didn't have the shield in my way, maybe I could get in. Let me see if I could in some of this underfill. Actually, I might be able to do this. I just see it moving, or lifting. Maybe on this corner. This chip is real big, so it's like really hard to get it all off without damaging it. I mean, ultimately, this is the hard part for me. So let's see if I can do this. Okay, so it's kind of, I feel like it's stuck. I'm gonna try to see if I can get it from another angle. Alright, let's try this angle, this corner here. No rush. I don't know if this cap is necessary. I can see the CPU moving. Alright, so I'm just going to try to go from different corners and see if I could kind of release it. I just got to be careful not to damage, as I keep saying. Kind of lift him. Up. Those are all caps. I'm going to I can see it moving, but just want to release. I feel it coming off. There it goes. Alright, I'm just going to wait a little bit, let it cool down. Uh-oh. Alright, let's see the damage. What is that? Is that from the board? I'm gonna have to clean this and see what's going on. Alright, so what did I do here? Well, don't think that went too well. Let's just clean this up first. I'm going to use some low melt solder here to just run over each pad. Also, these little glass, I think they're capacitors. Apparently you don't need them. So if they get lost or whatever, then the device will work fine. But yeah, like I said multiple times, I haven't mastered this, but the only way to master it is to practice. So you consider this a live practice. And what sucks is it's hard to get iPad donor boards. It's not like I have any iPad 7s to practice with. So these are the only opportunities I get. When someone sends me a device and they're like, screw it, just try it, who cares? I'm like, all right. So just cleaning up. So this part is pretty standard process as far as cleaning pads. Just run your iron over them and flux. Yeah, so for other models, you do need those little glass chips underneath. Whereas on this one, you don't. At least that's what I've heard from people. All right, let me clean this up. What I'm going to do first is clean with ISO. The annoying part about doing in the housing is the housing itself is huge and gets, takes up your whole work mat. So sometimes it's like an awkward position. I probably should have used a bigger nozzle so it provides more stable heats. I'll have to try that on the next one. All right, so I think I ran over all the pads. Now I'm gonna try to wick the pads flat. So even if the CPU is damaged, it's I'm going through this process, so at least you guys see what's required, to do this job. Now, I don't recommend you follow this as a guide because obviously I don't know what I'm doing. But this is what it's like when you're learning something new. You just kind of try things until something works. So I figured why not? They just put it on YouTube. People can watch and laugh. Watch me fail. Alright, so I'm going to cut off the end of my solder wick so I could have a fresh piece. I'll add a little more flux. Alright, where's my... Oh, here it is. So who here has actually mastered these CPU reballs, either on iPhone or iPads? I haven't. But I'm like so busy with just regular repairs that I don't really have, free time to practice. So anytime I practice is when someone actually sends me something they're gonna pay me for, so I might as well. Well, they're gonna pay me if I'm successful, so might as well try it. If I practice on my own, just practice, no pain at the end. All right, I'm gonna rotate the iPad, get the other ends. Master the Reball. Yeah, the Reball itself is pretty easy, especially if you use the lower temp solder. I've been using the solder paste I use for sandwich reballs. Sandwich like iPhone 10. I use that paste and it works well because it melts evenly. It doesn't bubble a lot, but it's also not very brittle like really low melt solder. I don't know what the specs are on that solder. It's just called G-Long iPhone X solder paste or something like that. All right, let me clean this. You guys don't know how nerve-wracking this is doing this live on YouTube. Well, we have 22 people watching right now. Like any wrong move, you guys can make fun of me. All right, so it looks like there's still some underfill here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use some hot air to, I don't know, like 275, and I'm gonna use my blade to try to clean out some of this stuff. Yeah, there's a few caps that are gone. I'll come back and check to see they're needed. Basically, they have a layer on ground. High chance they're not needed. Otherwise, I'm in trouble. Although, pretty sure they're fine. From what I'm seeing here on the XW, should be good. Hopefully. Now the other hard part of this process is cleaning the CPU, like underneath, because it's so easy to rip some pads. So I would say that's kind of what I've need more practice on or need to master. Yeah, I don't know how many people would be willing to go live to something they haven't mastered. Because then you're just, showing like all the stuff you don't know how to do. Whereas most people, or most YouTube videos are like stuff they can do. So, but yeah, I'm gonna once I'm done with this, I'm gonna just leave it up and people can see. You know, I'm not gonna delete it. There's nothing really to hide here, so never said I was a CPU master anyway. Although I do want to master it just for the data recovery jobs or big ticket jobs, and sometimes you got to do a CPU swap to get data. You know, if you're paying hundreds of dollars for data, definitely worth mastering. Although those are pretty rare, where it needs a CPU swap and customers willing to pay the high price. But there's a lot of cases where they do want to pay. So, or if it's a case that you kind of spent a bunch of time on and you still can't figure it out, you always just swap the CPU and solve it. But even if you don't quote on the CPU price, but you want to just at least get paid for something, it might be worth just swapping the CPU, especially if you get pretty fast at it. I'm sure once you get the hang of it, you can knock this out really fast. And let's see. Let's get this side. So these good news is at least the pads here on the board side of things look good so far. The only I see some missing pads, but they clearly look like NC, not connected. That's fine. I do see some scratches, but doesn't seem to be anything major, so that's good too. I don't see any obvious signs of it being a traces that got severed. We're almost done here. By the way, if you guys have any suggestions on what other repair videos you want me to do, just let me know in the comments or in the live chat or wherever. I'll see if I can do it. Or any other live streams you want me to fail at. Alright, so I think I got most of it. I'm going to come back with the iron, or with the wick, and out the rest of the solder. So always use some flux. By the way, I've been using some new flux, the 560. I haven't really figured out what's really different. I mean, the consistency is slightly different than the usual 559, I think it's called. But as far as performance, it seems to work. Actually, it seems to evaporate a little sooner. So I don't know. Let's see. All right, I'm gonna use my hot iron wick to kind of finish this off. So you kind of just heat the wick itself and a little bit of the board, and it helps suck up all the solder. Does a pretty good job at picking up all the solder. Although using the iron works better when you're cleaning off bigger chunks of underfill. To try this with big chunks of underfill still on the board, like it doesn't really do anything to it, and it doesn't let you pick up the solder. This should be good. Oh, see, that's good enough. So thanks to everyone who joined, who's here live. I'm doing this for you guys. You guys have any questions about this or just anything in general? You can just drop those questions in the chat, and I'll try to answer them. All right, so let's check the caps. The way I have the board laying right now is like this. All right, so we have, here, let me see if I could show. All right, yeah. So we have this cap missing. This one's missing. I think it should be fine. This one's missing. Yeah, I think these all are missing are fine. Also see there's a loose one over here, which seems, I think should be fine. Maybe. I don't know if this one went flying at some point. This one here. I think this one was already missing. That looks like the pads look like factory, what they look like, when they're missing from the factory. Everything else seems to be there. So yeah, I think we're good. What tool was we're using for the cleaning part? What do you mean? What cleaning part? The toothbrush? Did I use a toothbrush? I used a toothbrush. I used my clean cloth towel. I used a hot air and wick, and the reverse tweezers. All right, so moment of truth. I'm gonna use the eye pinch. Actually, let me move this a little bit. I'm gonna use the eye pinch jig here to grab the CPU. Hopefully, this thing is full of flux, so it's hard to open and close. I used it a lot. It gets stuck. Even though I'll clean it, it gets pretty dirty real quick. Okay, so let's close this. There is one corner that I'm concerned about, but I guess I won't really see it until kind of clean that area up. I mean, if that corner is messed up, I guess I'll just, and maybe it's like game over, but I'll just finish the job anyway, just so I go through that process. Oh, scraping, I was using a razor blade or an X-Acto blade. All right, so right now I'm just running some low melt solder over all the pads. Might as well get rid of that. If anyone has any tips on this part, let me know. Right now I'm just going to try to see if I could kind of melt some of this off. But also got to be careful not to damage the surface of the CPU. I've done a lot of that too before. Oh, what's up, Leif? All right, so this is a corner that I'm concerned. Oh, look at that, it looks fine. But just the underfill looked all messed up. All right, let me, so there's a top secret weapon that my friend sent me. There's a phone Kong PCB blade thing, and you also have to sharpen it. Let's do that real quick. So basically, from my understanding, it's basically like a board that's, so like the idea is this like PCB board is, I don't know, very soft, so it doesn't damage. Measure PP 1v1. Yeah, I can do that. Let me clean it up first. Let me. All right, so let me clean this. All right, so this is the tool. Let me get the. I think doing my nails. I'm gonna file them. All right, so I'm gonna use some hot air. I'm gonna go at 250. I think you go a little lower, then I'll move up. We'll do 210. Not blurry. By the way, if you're watching this, feel free to share this on your profile. Let people know I'm live. That'd be awesome. See how many people we can get in here. We have 14. You know, it's a Sunday. It's 6:50 p.m. here in Las Vegas. Yeah, so it could be up to what, 9, like in the East Coast. But you know, who doesn't like CPU reballs on a Sunday? All right, I think I need a little more heat. I'm gonna go 230. I want it hot enough so the underfill gets soft and comes off. I also don't want to overheat it and then cause some other damage. Oh look, it's almost there. We need to go a little hotter. Now the usual spot where I damage it is where my tool goes in to like lift it up. I often like chip the edges, and I think that's usually what kills the CPU. Like one time I had, but all the pads were there, no rip pads, but there's some chips on the corner, and I think that's what did it. Yeah, there's no fun trying to clean this because you gotta be patient. But I'm not that patient of a person, so all right. Let me clean the blade. Maybe that's why. It was working pretty good, and then it kind of stopped. Oh, you know what? I do have that hot stone. I totally forgot about that. Although the annoying part about that hot stone is it doesn't hold the CPU, so you kind of have to like, fight that, like the CPU wanting to move around while you're trying to carefully clean it. Let me see if I get at least the big chunks off. Yeah, just follow this. Oops, came off the jig here. All right, let's see. We are 51 minutes in. Wow, that went by quick. I still feel hopeful. I haven't seen anything that's like a sign that it's game over. So hopefully this is successful. That would be amazing, honestly. Like, I'm not really expecting to be successful because I still haven't found like the perfect technique for each step. I'm like mostly winging it. But I don't know. I'm trying to think if being live is kind of making me work better, or if it's gonna, like the nerves from being live is gonna make me like mess up. Plus, I can't really take any breaks because I'm live, so I just have to go from beginning to end. All right, so I think this tool worked pretty good as far as not damaging any pads. Although it gets dirty fast and I have to clean it. All right, am I missing any questions here? What are the components under the CPU that came off? I think they're capacitors, but I don't really know. But I heard on this A10 doesn't need it. On newer ones like A11 and newer, it does need it. I don't know. I'm just going off of what others say. It's A50 in Memphis. It's 251 here, wherever that is. What's the better way of cleaning the CPU? Let me know. You guys know? Let me know. Don't hold back. And one thing about, doing some of this stuff on YouTube, some people think like if you give away the secrets, then they're gonna lose the business. Like, people figure out how to do this themselves and stop going to you. But I think a lot of people just don't have the drive, because a lot of the stuff you do have to practice and master. I think a lot of people just don't have the, the drive to master it like you do. So even if you put out content online and giving away all this information, there's still going to be a lot of people who don't follow it, and then you'll still get business. Like, you won't lose out on too much business. Sure, some people might learn to do stuff themselves and not go to you, but if you do good work, Some people would rather just pay to get it done versus get it done right versus trying to risk it themselves. I think the publicity, not publicity, but the exposure he gets from being on YouTube and like being seen as experts outweighs the potential competition you might be training. Maybe that's my thoughts. I don't know. Let me know in the comments. What are your thoughts as far as posting free content online that teaches people how to be your competitor? Because like, to expand on that, I do teach in a course. We teach micro soldering. And even if we're teaching students directly, like there's a lot who, pay for the course, they show up, they never practice and they still don't know how to solder. So, you can't force people to be motivated to learn some of this stuff. So that's why I don't worry too much. I'm not 100% reliant on just repairs. I'm constantly working on other stuff that will hopefully grow my income from other avenues, so I don't rely on just repairs. So it's something you got to do anyway, because you can't, you're more at risk if you just have one income stream. All right, so I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. This is really tedious, but so far this tool works pretty good. I just got to be careful not to damage any pads. I think in a bit I'm going to try with my iron again to kind of clean off more underfill. Okay, let's add some flux. Try it again. What are my other ventures? So working on creating some tools, YouTube, affiliate links. I do plan on doing like real estate, investing. Those are the main ones off the top of my head. Oh, and I teach in that course, so I get paid there as well. Some other possible things is, if times get tough, I could always offer, like, I know I don't do this now and I don't want to, but worst case I could offer like one-on-one training and charge a premium for it. There's other things I can do, so there's always demand for training. Some people so our course is online, but some people just can't understand the idea of learning online. They think it won't work, even though I learned online through YouTube videos. I had someone to explain stuff to me on top of that. I think I would have learned faster. But yeah, maybe I could take advantage of that. Set up my garage with workstation, few workstations. All right, so I got some more solder in. Let me file this a little more. You guys can see I'm just scraping it. I'm going to turn it up just a little more to 255. Now, worst comes to worst, I could start doing screen repairs and going mobile. I'm in Vegas, so I could go, hit up all the casinos, see if they need any IT work, or, I actually fixed Mandalay Bay, their pool, like their, they have a pool with like bottle service or whatever. So they have iPads that, they use to check in their guests. And I fixed one of their iPads with some cracked screens. So the guy said, he's going to let everyone else know about me, but I haven't really pursued it just because I'm so busy micro soldering. I'm just like, if he doesn't get back to me, that's fine. I'm busy enough, but, that gave me the idea, like I could reach out to all these casinos and try to see if I get any deals with them. So that's kind of my plan. So I have a lot of backup plans. So, but like I said, I think the main thing is most people won't master this like I did. So I'm not afraid to give out information online because it only helps my reputation grow by giving out this information versus how many people will end up being my competitor. Even before YouTube, I had a few customers who ended up learning how to solder themselves, and now, they don't send me anything, but that happened regardless of me posting the information, so I can't control what people decide to do. If anything, posting good information online only makes sure that people do repairs properly rather than destroy them, which then gives what do you call it? So like overall, the repair industry doesn't look bad by botched repairs if there's proper information online. So there's that. I mean, that's like one way to think of it. So almost done with this underfill. It's funny? At 1 hour and I'm almost done. Basically, I just clean these pads, reball it, and put it back and test. And my bottom board swap videos, I have two, iPhone 10 bottom board swap, iPhone 10 as a Max bottom board swap. Those are like almost 4 hours long. So, although there's like way more steps on those. Although now I think I could do them like but maybe like a 1 hour, 1 hour and 20 minutes, depending if anything goes wrong. By the way, this is low melt solder. This is 138. There's like special solder that's like really low temp. So it makes it easy. Like when I'm cleaning with hot air, the solder melts super easy and I don't risk damaging the pads. That's kind of what I'm doing here. All right, I'm gonna try to wick with my iron. I'm putting in very light pressure. Basically just the heat is on the wick, and that's enough to pick up solder. I'm not pressing down necessarily. I'm just letting the heat transfer to the wick, and then the wick sucks up the solder. That way you don't risk damaging any pads. So I'm gonna clip off some more. I'm running out of wick here. I might have to grab another piece. Right. So now let me clean this up. It's really burnt in flux here. Did I clean it all? So it looks like I didn't have to use that hot stone, although I do have it like literally right here. Totally forgot about it. Well, let me do this. I'm using a Q-tip just because I feel like I could avoid putting too much pressure. If I use a little towel, I might press down and break it. This gives me a little more control, although it does leave a lot more lint, which I really hate. The lint gets everywhere. If you see my thumbnail, that picture, there's like a bunch of lint on the tweezers. But I just like try to come up with something super quick. I want to see more people joining. What's up, Gianni and James? We have the whole crew here. All right, I'm gonna try to clean up some of this. Last piece of gunk here. All right. Sorry, guys, I'm just concentrating, so I'm being a little silent. I don't want to talk too much and mess up. So I'm like almost at the finish line. And so far, everything looks good, so I don't want to jinx it. This inner fill stuff is annoying. I remember I seen a post about like this chemical you could put that dissolves it, this underfill, but I guess it's like not good to breathe in, so you might get cancer if you like breathe that stuff in, so I don't know about that. Yeah, so the hot zone is basically like a preheater for the chip. So that way, you know, I don't have to use hot air to soften the underfill that I'm cleaning off. Although I don't know how temperature controlled it is, so if it gets too hot, it might mess up the CPU itself. All right. So you guys, can you guys see any issues with the CPU? So far for me, it looks good, but kind of concentrating on this cleaning. I mean, all the pads are there. Some are oxidized, which is fine. I'm gonna clean it off. Really, the main concern is where I inserted a tool to try to lift it. So I think I think that's all of it. We got 20 viewers. All right, so this is the corner I inserted the tool because this is the one that looked all super weird, I think. But it looks fine. Let me separate it a little. This corner, yeah, all these edges look good. This part right here looks a little, looks tinned. I don't know, maybe just exterior layer, doesn't matter. But honest, there's like no way really to check. Now, someone did say to check PP1v1 for shorts. I guess I do that now. All right, so how do we find PP1v1? Well, if we go back to here, you'll see there's, let me hide this. You see there's no net names, so we don't know the names of any lines, but this is an A10. A10 is in the iPhone 7, iPhone 7, 7 Plus, you know, the same CPU, so we could find it here and then try to correlate it to the oops, why is this zooming in? My mouse gets all weird sometimes. ZXW. All right, so let's do this. You didn't know, here at the bottom are the net names. Let me do this. At the bottom, what you do is type in keyword PP1v1. Oh, I think I clicked it by accident. Yeah, PP1v1. Let me just double check. So they said, I can't find the message. It's like a ton of messages. All right, so I guess let's go with this one. So we can do this. So when you're looking at ZXW, one thing is you're looking at the board side. Neat trick is there's a button here at the top that says horizontal flip perspective, and essentially, you know, the chip itself is kind of the reverse of the board. I just noticed here I'm on camera. So the chip is like literally the reverse. So if you mirror this, you now are looking at it from the chip perspective. So let's see. I guess I gotta turn my scope cam back on. So if we try to match this with what's on ZXW, so we have the empty squares here on the right and on the bottom. So that'd be like this. All right, so now the red pads are the ones we want to check. Let's go with these right here. So let's probe the red on this ground and the black on this one. So that would be this on the third one. So let's go here. Multimeter and diode mode. And then red probe on the second. All All right, guys, what do you think is gonna happen? Type a 1 in the chat if it's shorted, or type a 2 in the chat if you think it's good. Let me know, and we'll check real quick. So look at that, 242. So it's not shorted. At least this is line. I don't know if this is the line that guy was talking about. So yeah, we're good. So we can continue on. Well, I was going to continue on anyway, but it's a fun exercise. Let's see. All right, so what I need to do is kind of clean up these oxidized pads. But let me clean the CPU first. There's a lot of flux here. Also, I'm almost done. So I want to make sure once I'm done, it's all clean over here. So let me clean jig here. There's a ton of flux and stuff like that. I'm gonna do one more. No, I think I might just do it on the towel. One second, let me clean off this towel. Make big chunks of stuff. So this is my little cleaning towel. It's like a mess. Let me see the inside. Yeah, the inside's dirty. Let's go with this. Seems to be the cleanest. What I'm gonna do is clean the edges. So you guys see how there's like a bunch of gunk there? Actually, let me first clean the back side or the top side. All right, yeah, PP 1v1. So I think we're good. Now this flux is, you know, I did a lot of soldering before cleaning. This is what happens with flux. It becomes like a really thick syrup kind of texture, very sticky and hard to deal with. And I really hate sticky stuff, so. Marnix Repair, I don't know who that is. Is that a YouTuber? Or someone in the Facebook groups? What's up? What is the beautiful jig you have? The one I was holding the CPU, it is the iPinch by Kian Lee. I think that's how you pronounce it. iPinch. Might have it on my website. I have it linked. If you guys go to vccboardrepairs.com/gear, it's in the description. I have a link of all my recommended tools that I use here, or tools that alternative options because the originals are no longer available. All right, so and always feel free to ask any questions, even if it's not related to this repair. I'll try to answer it. I just clean the pads a little more. All right, so it's a lot of oxidized pads. So what I'm gonna do is add some flux. Then I'm gonna do some solder wire. Zoom out. By the way, I'm like about 2 times of what you guys see as far as the zoom. Maybe not 2 times. So the camera is a lot closer than real life. think I need more flux. Yep. I'm running out of flux, so then you see the weird bridging here. That's fine. So when I was soldering, it heated up the chip, so it's a lot easier now to apply the flux. I just applied some to begin with just to get started. Just enough to be able to solder with, and then now I could properly apply. So I'm like being real gentle, not pressing down. I'm landing like the little solder blob on my iron and do most of the work. Alright, I mean, I am pressing down, but not like with any real pressure. You can see the solder just gets picked up by the solder pads. One thing I just remembered, it's kind of funny when non-board repair techs, like I tell them, yeah, it seems to be like a CPU issue, so I can't fix it, and they're like, why not? I'm like, because it's hard. They're like, but you know how to solder, right? I'm like, yeah, but it's a whole different level of difficultness. Like, so why can't you do it? It's hard to explain to someone who doesn't solder why it's difficult. I usually say something like, you know, it's very easy to damage, you know, something in the whole process that just kills the whole board and it's game over. And I think at that point they kind of get that concept, but it's still, you know, they're kind of doubting my abilities. Like I could do almost everything, you know, NAND replacement, baseband CPUs, you know, pretty much anything except CPU. But you know, when I say I can't do CPU, they just like start. It feels like they're doubting my abilities, but I don't know. Maybe they don't understand, and then to me, I feel like they're judging me. But yeah. Yeah, a lot of flux. So I'm just gonna gently. One of the good things about this 1/38 solder is super easy to clean off. We got 20 viewers right now. By the way, I see I have 9 likes and we have 20 viewers. Who wants to do me a favor and hit that like button on this video? Be awesome. You guys, you know, I'm basically putting myself out there for you guys. So in return, just you guys can pay me back with a smashing of that like button. I totally forgot about asking you guys for that. Oops, I'm out of view. Don't dislike because of that. All right, almost done. Now it doesn't even have to be perfect because stencil, it'll line up in the stencil and hold it in place. Oh wow, you guys are awesome. 14 likes now. So that's at least 5 likes that came in. So if you haven't already, hit the like button for the YouTube algorithm. Hit the like button if you're watching this video and you think I should do more videos like this where I have no idea if I can fix something. Someone disliked? Wow. Okay, so liked and subbed. Ooh, awesome. Thank you. Let me just clean off. right, I think this should be good to reball. Now, let me show you guys what I have for CPU Reball. Give me a second. Should have prepared this before, but totally forgot about this step. Oh, here we go. Oh, a new one. All right, so Union Repair sent me these. It is the Mant. Let me show you guys here. It is the Mant M-A-A, or I don't know how to say it. Mant. It is a, stuck. It's a little reballing jig. There's a magnetic base. There's a ton of these plates, which I actually have to get the right one. Let's see, where is it? Well, I guess I'll just grab them all so you guys can see. It's like a whole system here. So there's different plates for the different jobs. This has sandwich jigs, but I don't like this for sandwich jobs. You know, basically it's mostly for CPU. A bunch of CPU jigs. So if you want one of these, go to unionrepair.com, search for M-A-A-N-T, MANT, A9, A8, A9, A12, A13, and then iPhone 11, sandwich jig. So I need A10, and then I have the stencil here, and it has a matching stencil. So what to do is, so you can see here, there's like a little slot to put the CPU. Now if it doesn't fit, careful. Like right now it's not fitting well. So what I'm going to do is try to clean the edges a little more. I think, you know, some crud on the edges. So that jig is like super tight as far as fitment. And that's good because then the CPU won't move when you're reballing. Because one of the hard parts when you're reballing is the CPU moving as you're trying to reball, and then the solder paste doesn't get in the right spots and stuff like that. I wonder where. So I'll just try to clean off as much as I can. Also got to be careful not to damage the CPU. So I'm just using my blade and gently trying to scrape off some of this underfill stuff on the edges. All right, let me try again. All right, there's a bunch of messages I might have missed. All right, there it goes. Well, it fits a lot better. All right, so this is how it works. So this is the A10 CPU, which is what we're dealing with. iPhone 7, iPad 7s, and it fits in there. And then you line up the stencil. Let me actually do this under the scope so you guys can see. So this is how I have it. So you see the two on the top and two on the right. So I got to line up the stencil just like that. One thing is you line it up here on the top and the sides, and there you go. It's lined up. But right now it still kind of moves around the stencil itself. But you put it, oops, remove the stencil. Right now it's lined up. I put it here. This is magnetic. Now the stencil is like solid. It doesn't move. So the magnet from the bottom base is pulling the stencil down and holding it in place. So now you can see it's like perfectly aligned. in focus. Somewhat perfect. I mean, it's slightly to the side, but there it goes. Yeah, I mean, it kind of moves. I'm still within the pads, so it doesn't really matter. And then also, it came with a little spatula thing. So it was like super easy to apply the paste. So this is the paste I'm going to use. Oh, yeah, you guys can't really see that. It is the Real Life Solder Paste for X or 10S, 10S Max. G-Long something. It doesn't really say what temperature or anything. It does say Rojas on it. So it is lead free, I guess. Supposedly. There's some QR codes here, but I doubt they're even scannable. On the top, it doesn't say anything either, just X solder paste. Bottom. Expiration dates. Expiration date says October 23rd, 2020. So we're using expired paste. But I've been using it forever and it still works. Now, one trick is when your paste dries out, you could just squirt a bunch of flux in there, stir it up, and then it's back to, you know, it's good to go again. Now, I do need to scoop some of this out. Let me show you guys here on this camera how I do this. So I use a different tool to kind of scoop some out. I apply it to my little spatula thing. And then the goal here is to just get it on one side. All right, so then I'll put this off to the side. So now I have a little blob of paste here. All right, so now we reball. So just apply it. All right, that's it. Just kidding. Gotta do it a few times. Make sure I'm like pushing down and spray, like pressing down as I'm swiping or spraying it in, and then come back. Just kind of scrape it away. All right, I think that should be good. Now, the other trick is you get a towel. Now this paste is really runny. So I have a little towel here. This one's clean actually, it's a brand new one. Find a spot that's clean and then you essentially wipe it away like that. You'll see this is how much I picked up off the stencil. I'll do it one more time. Or two more times. So you can see I picked up that on the second time, on the first time. So this essentially picks up all the excess solder that's like on the top. It helps flatten it out, and then basically you end up with the same amount of volume on each square. And then so because this has those little squares, I'm gonna try to scoop some of that out just so I don't end up getting like these random solder balls like flying everywhere. Because this will like blob up, not blob up, but make a little solder ball, and it might just go places I don't want it to. I'm trying to clear out as much as I can, so whatever does stay, we'll just grab onto those pads that are there. All right, guys, we're 1 hour and a half in. All right, we have 13 viewers, 19 likes. Can we get to 20 likes? Who's watching and hasn't liked the video? I can't see how many dislikes, so you guys better not dislike the video, or else I'll go offline right now. Alright, you guys sent a lot of messages that I missed, so it's kind of hard to keep up. Alright, that should be good enough. I'll stab myself. Sweet, we got to 20 likes. Okay, so here comes the reballing process. I'm going to set my hot air to my reballing temp, 330 and 35. So 330 Celsius, 35 airflow on my quick. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just hold the stencil down like this. And then let me focus. Focused. So weird, I don't see where. Alright, let's go with that. Alright, so first I'm just gonna heat up the general area. You can see some of the flux is kind of slightly bubbling. What I'm gonna do is try to do one corner at a time. I'm gonna take it real slow, no rush. I'm like way off here to the top left, and just kind of making little circles, and slowly like I'll like make one close one and then stay far away. The goal is to like warm up this area as slow as possible so you don't get any weird like bubbling or anything like that. Alright, you guys see that? Okay. I'm trying to go around the edges basically. Also what do you call it, the like wiping down the top layer helps dry it out as well. Like it absorbs some of this excess flux that makes a bubble. So just go real slow, no rush. And then oh, 21 likes. All right. I need to move the stencil a little bit. All right, so now I'm working the top. Can I get in focus, but I don't know why it's not in focus. All right, I'm gonna go on the top corner. Bottom corner. All right, I think that's it. All right, so all the solder balls are formed. Weights. And gently release pressure. All right, so let's inspect. All right, so far everything looks good to me. Now see, this is the thing I was worried about. So that's why I cleaned out most of this solder right here. Solder paste. Oh, this one's dirty right here. All right. Yeah, everything looks good to me. All right, so let me see. Let me clean it. Because what happens is when there's like a little bit of flux on something, it kind of makes this effect where it makes it look larger than it really is. There's some flux on some pads. I couldn't tell if it was actual pads that were larger or just that liquid that kind of made it look larger. But I think it's fine. Now, there is one trick I can do to try to even out all the pads, which I think they're all good. Actually, no, I see a bad one here. Let me see. So there's one pad that looks a little funky. And there's still isopropyl alcohol here. You hear it bubbling. Alright, so I'm trying to, there it goes. Alright, so I got that one fixed. Also, while it's still hot, let's get this out of the stencil. So what you can do now is separate this. Now I'll come back to here, and now you could more easily remove the stencil in one corner. Get it out. Now, one thing is clean this thing. That way it's easier to deal with next time. Just leave the flux there. It's going to be super hard to clean. There's some flux here. All right, cool. Let me see. I got a message. All right, so yeah, stencil's plain. So I'll put that off to the side. Let's bring back our CPU. All right, so there's a bunch of random solder debris. So let me clean that off. Visually, all the pads look good. That brush. So this is cleaning off the flux and hopefully getting some of that random solder paste debris off of it. Alright, so now I'm going to try to pick off actual debris that doesn't move. I'll just get it so it's not stuck, and then I'll scrub it a little more. Yeah, so this part is exposed. Hoping it's just ground and it won't affect anything. Here. All right, so I think it should be good. Luckily, this thing wasn't stuck to the little jig. Sometimes it gets stuck. I'm gonna clean this a little more and then place it. So we're almost done. We're basically coming up on 2 hours. So thanks to all of you who have stuck around. Let's see if this video was worth it or if it's going to be a giant fail. Alright, shouldn't have done that. We got lint everywhere now. My tweezers are dirty. Let's get this one for sure. All right, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna do this. So I'm gonna put it on the preheater real quick. I'm gonna drop some flux just to flow the pads one more time. And I'll put on the preheater so the flux can spread easily. See how I was able to coat it good? Then I'm gonna hold it up and heat it. Basically form all the balls again. Alright, so this is the CPU Reball. So on a scale from 1 to 5, 5 being good, 1 being sucks, how does my Reball look? Comment on the chat. You could also vote by putting fire emojis. So 5 fire emojis, it means good. 1 fire emoji means not so good. You know what, let me take a picture for social media. I think it looks pretty good. So 21 likes. Who has yet to like the video? Or who hasn't liked the video yet? If you haven't liked it, comment on why. Let's get a few pictures here. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity. All right, cool. So where's the iPad? The bench is dirty. Let me do this. One-handed. Bunch of flux there. Let me wipe this down so the back of the iPad doesn't get all nasty. This is a spray of, it's like a isopropyl alcohol solution. It helps with cleaning stuff like this. All right, let's do this. Here's the board. All right, one quick inspection. And this should be fine. All right, so one thing I did see on a video, you guys seen Eamon, the repair guy or something like that? He has a CPU swap video, and I saw him use rosin to coat a layer of flux. And the last time I did it, I did that, and it was a successful job. So I'm gonna just keep that method. Now doing this is really, I still haven't mastered this either because I don't normally do this. But essentially, you dip your iron in here, and you kind of hover it over. It essentially leaves a layer of flux, but it's like, it's not flux, it's rosin, which is basically flux. Or does somebody have a better explanation? Thing is, this will liquefy once it gets hot. Bought this at Mobile Centrics, mechanic rosin. All right, should be more than enough. Oh yeah, the rosin vape pen thing. That's cool. I didn't buy one. All right, so one of the benefits from doing this is that you don't have, like, if the flux, when it gets hot, you know, sometimes it bubbles, and when you're doing a CPU, you have very little tolerance. Like, one slight movement might ruin the whole. Crap, this thing's dirty. One slight movement might ruin the whole thing. So my guess is the reason why you do this is a super thin layer of flux, and this, you know, super thin layer of flux, so you have very low risk of the flux bubbling and kind of shifting it. All right, so Micro Mage Repair said I need to be successful to earn the smashing the like button. So let's see if I get that. We're at 22 likes. So right now I'm going to start off with super low heat. I think it's aligned pretty good. I'm basically using my, actually I can see some scratches here, so I'm going to use that as a reference. I'm going to bump it a little closer to that scratch. And I think it looks pretty good. So I'm going with the really low heats, 350. Well, not low, but lower than usual. And the goal is to kind of just warm up the board. Maybe it'll be enough to melt the solder balls because it is low melt solder that I reballed with. But let's see. So I'm basically hitting it at different angles. So I spread the heat. You can see that flux says on top where it's moving. All right, we got 21 views. So do you guys share this video? You share it in the Facebook group so that people know, like, hey, Jesse's soldering a CPU right now. Or on a personal page. We have a business page. Yeah, we're at 1 hour and 55 minutes. So let's see. All right, I think. All right, I'm gonna go up in temp and airflow. I think I've applied enough heats. Just like before, go in circles. One thing I'm looking for is a solder, what do you call it? Like a flux, there you go. The flux that was on the chip to kind of slowly ooze out. That would indicate that the solder balls underneath have melted, generally. Right. I'm not sure if it went in. So I'm going to add my own flux. Here at the corners. And then just there's what it's called, a capillary action, I think it's called. Where like it just spreads on its own. Like the way liquid works, that's just what it does. So it gets sucked in underneath. Right. Alright, I'm debating if I should try to bump it or just leave it. It kind of looks like it's moving. But here, let's focus on this corner. Does it move? Alright, you know what? I'm going to try to bump it. Here comes my tweezer. Alright, some gentle nudge. Yep, it's there. Hopefully I didn't nudge it too much. It was a small nudge, but let's see. I'll let my board cool down. Let me drink some of my iced coffee. 24 views, 24 likes. All right, one trick I like to do is drop some ISO. So tell me how hot the board is. But it also kind of cools down the solder. Well, it cools down the area, which also, you know, when solder cools down, it solidifies. So then I can come and start cleaning. I'm just gonna clean on the outside first. Pretty sure the solder is good now, but all right, let me get my little towel here to absorb most of this. These are the union repair tool. I don't know how to pronounce it. Tool tool. I don't know. All right, these are the tool wipes or whatever, microfiber towels. I don't know what they're called. All right, so let me clean up my workstation real quick. And put back all this solder. Put it back into the little bucket. This away for next sandwich job. I'm gonna clean my little spatula tool. All right, who's watching the stream right now? Comment Comment what city you're from, or what city you're watching from. Want to know who's here while I prep this area. All right, so let me swap this out for little stickers. If you're watching the stream, don't be shy. Say hello in the chats while we come to the grand finale. One thing is I don't know what lines to even check to see if there's a short. So I'm just gonna go all in and just install it and try it. Because I'm only really gonna try this once. So if this doesn't work, then it's a no fix. All right, plug in everything. Use that as a stand. Plug this in. All right, I see some Seminole, Florida. I see London. Oh, we're international. I see San Antonio, Texas. Password. Yeah, what's your mother's maiden name as well, and your first dog's name? You see Greensboro, North Carolina, Boston. I'm out here in Las Vegas. So, who went to the expo 2 weeks ago? Where's my cable? All right, here. You know what? Let me do this. I am going to. Let me go to this screen. All right. I need the scope. I need this camera. Oops. Where is? No, let me try this instead. Let me go desktop. Goes up here. Let me shrink this. Oops, wrong camera. Sorry, guys. Which screen is this? Desktop capture. Oh, here we go. Let me shrink this. All right, let me put it right here. Okay, so here's the iPad. I'm gonna plug it in and see what happens. All right, we have nothing. Let's see. Let me force a DFU mode. So power button, home button. Moment of truth has failed. And let go of power button. All right, so let me check the charging currents, see if we see anything funny. Where's that cable? All right, so let me turn on, where is it? I had a tool here, where did it go? All right, give me a second. Where's my Power Z tool? Why isn't it on my... Oh, here it is. I was blind for a second. All right, let's check my charging currents. Yeah, so it's jumping. Usually it's not a good sign. So I'm gonna run the chart so you guys can see. Yeah, something's shorted. I guess I can try pulling the CPU real quick. See if there's any obvious bridging. Yeah, probably not good. I keep this connected. All right, so let me unplug LCD. Like I said, I haven't mastered this. This is more of an experiment, and you guys can see what it's like to fail. It's not all fun and games. Put this over here. Let me hide this. All right. Well, let me try this. Oops. I'm gonna use my thermal camera, see if there's any. Oh yeah. All right, so let me get this camera out so you can see there's something heating up. Maybe here's a shorted cap or something. Yeah, this is short. All right, let me pull the CPU just to do a visual inspection. I wouldn't be surprised if, well, I wouldn't know, but I wouldn't be surprised if I bumped it too hard. I was trying to go in real slow, and then like I moved too much, and then let's see. So something out here was pulsing. Let me measure them. I'm gonna go into diode mode. So, all right, short or ground. Yeah, this is shorted. Not that one. That one's shorted. I wonder what lines those are. I go back to XW. I'm on iPhone 7. So iPad 2019. Oh wait, let me hide this camera. What camera is this? All right. I believe it was. Let me rotate this. So we have large cap. Yeah, this one, this line. All right, let me pull the CPU and see what happens. One of the things that sucks about this job is there's like a million steps, and just one wrong step can just ruin everything. So, and you don't know where you went wrong. Let's see, maybe there's a short outside. So when you pull the CPU and check for shorts, maybe, well, I hope there wasn't a short before placing the CPU. All right. All right, and Well, I was able to lift it without seeing any bridges. All right, so let's check those caps at the top again. So this is how you troubleshoot. You just do something and you check for anything for any changes, and then it helps. Yeah, look at that. We got a diode mode reading, no longer short. Definitely the on the CPU side, but let's see if we can measure it within the CPU. What I'm going to do is, if we do that trick where we click this button here, it reverses the CPU. So then we can Alright, so we have the top and the right. So let's rotate this. Top and the right. And see if we could find these pads here. I guess the easiest would be on the right, top right. Because I can. So if you look here, there's these two pads. So I'll put red on this one, black on this one. So yeah, I was reading that short. So yeah, they're probably there's a short within the CPU, my guess. I don't know if it happened. What line is that? All right, last thing, let's check what line that is on an iPhone 7, and then we can compare. Maybe RAM got shorted, which is the layer on top. So if we go here, let's rotate it to how we had it here. So the squares on the top and then the right. It was actually reverse. So rotate this out like this. It was this pad here, which is, oh, there you go, PP1V1. That's weird. It was fine before, and now it's not. So this is the same line we checked earlier. So it must have shorted between basically between the reball and the placement, because this is this is the line we had checked. I mean, I don't see any bridging. Yeah, but I think at this point it's pretty much game over because the line is shorted. Check one more time. Yeah, flat 0. It's 100% shorted. So, yeah, that was that was it. Wonder if it's this edges that were like damaged. Where is it? One of these corners, there's an edge that's messed up. All right, well, oh well. Lesson learned. I don't know what the lesson was. I guess, let's see. So I think checking that PP1V1 line at each step, that way to see if it ever shorts. Because it was fine before I reballed it. So maybe after the reball, that's when it's sorted out somehow. But I think overall it was a pretty decent attempt at it. You guys got to see at least the whole process. So if you want to practice this, you could just go through this process, 5-10 times until you're successful. Obviously, I recommend doing this on a dead board. Even iPhones or whatever, do it like 5-10 times before you try it on a live board. But the good thing is iPhone boards that are iCloud locked are super cheap, so those are good to practice on, because if you're successful, at least you can boot it up, and then you can go through the process of trying it on a real board. This was just a Reball, so the process is actually pretty simple. You just pull the CPU and place it back. If you're doing a CPU swap to another, like transplanting it to another board, there's a whole different other process. You got to transfer NAND, the EEPROM. If you want a full functional phone, then you have to do baseband CPU. You got to do baseband EEPROM. So I do see someone saying, check the spot where you said, I hope touches ground where yeah. So I think that's, I think I spent enough time on this. I'm going to move on. I'm going to break the news to the customer that it was not successful. But, I do appreciate all you guys joining. Make sure you guys check out the links below in the description. I have, some of the tools I use. I do have merch, so if you want to buy a shirt like this, I do plan on making more designs. I just haven't had the chance. I do teach in a micro soldering course. So if you're looking to learn how to do audio IC, touch IC, TriStar, diagnose no power, stuff like that, check out that link. I do appreciate all you guys. See lots of love here in the comments, so thanks a lot. It was a first for me to do a live stream of the CPU, but I'll just keep practicing, and hopefully the next time I'll be successful and it'll be an actual tutorial versus a let's see if this works. So all right, time for me to go eat dinner. It's 8 p.m. here, so all right, bye guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys maybe next week, we'll see. All right, bye.